والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحابته أجمعين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم. وقل رب زدني علما. قال الإمام النووي رحمه الله تبارك وتعالى ونفعنا بعلمه في الدارين. قال وعن أبي هريرة عايذ بن عمرو المزني رضي الله عنه وهو من آل بيت الرضوان رضي الله عنه أن أبا سفيان أتى على سلمان وصهيب بلال في نفر فقالوا ما أخذت سيوف الله من عدو الله ما أخذها. فقال أبو بكر رضي الله عنه أتقولون هذا لشيخ قريش وسيدهم؟ فأتى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فأخبره فقال يا أبا بكر لعلك أغضبتهم، لئن كنت أغضبتهم لقد أغضبت ربك. فأتاهم فقال يا إخوتا أغضبتكم؟ قالوا لا. يغفر الله لك يا أخي. رواه Muslim. So continuing with this chapter of the showing benevolence and kindness towards the orphans and the daughters and the poor and the destitute and the downtrodden. So here a very interesting hadith from Sayyidina Aid ibn Amr al-Muzani radiallahu anhu, who happened to be from among the Ahl Bayt al-Ridwan. Bayt al-Ridwan was that auspicious undertaking that during the time of the Truce of Hudaybiyah that the Sahaba took a pledge with Rasulullah ﷺ to stand against Quraysh in retrieving Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu ta'ala. And that's a separate, very amazing incident and event. In any case, so he mentions that Abu Sufyan radiallahu ta'ala, and of course Abu Sufyan was the long-time opponent of Islam, and he was actually the commander-in-chief of the mushriks, of the idolatrous forces in Uhud and also in Khandaq. And so he was, a very long career of animosity and against Islam. And then ultimately, at the time of Fatah Makkah, then he accepted Islam. However, so he passed by a group, and among that group of Sahaba was Salman, who was originally from what was known as Salman al-Rumi, and he was originally a slave, and he was set free. And similarly, Salman al-Farisi, and also Suhaib al-Rumi, and also Bilal. So these are all three former slaves who were ultimately set free and were among the early, enters into Islam, and as such, they were held in very high esteem, and of course, they still are, and on the Day of Judgment as well. So as Abu Sufyan passed by, and of course, they saw Abu Sufyan, and they were of course envisioning, this long career of, animosity against Islam, and so they made this statement. They said, "Ma akhadha suyufullahi min aduwillahi ma akhadha." They said, the swords of Allah have not taken their due from the enemies of Allah. In other words, they were sort of, saying this in regards to Abu Sufyan. They were still feeling that, that animosity that he long had, and that campaign, that he had been spearheading, against Islam, even though now he has accepted Islam. So in any case, Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala was also present. So he said, how can you say this to the Shaykh of Quraysh? Because after all, he was the chief of Bani Umayyah, and the Bani Abd Shams tribe and clan was a very powerful clan in Makkah. And now he's accepted Islam. So how can you say such a thing, to this auspicious person who has ultimately accepted Islam, but he was, the Shaykh of Quraysh and the Sayyidim, their leader and their chieftain. So then Abu Bakr, he went to Rasulullah and said, these individuals said such and such about Abu Sufyan. So Rasulullah very unexpectedly said to him, perhaps you're mentioning this to them, you would have made them angry. In other words, you replied on behalf of Abu Sufyan, perhaps making these individuals angry. Salman, Suhaib, and Bilal, these former slaves who were the former slaves, but they were the very early entrants into Islam from the very beginning and suffered greatly, and they're very high in the esteem of Allah subhanahu. So perhaps you made them angry. And if you made them angry, you made Allah angry. So Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, now he hurries back to them and says, "Oh my brothers, did I make you angry?" They said, "May Allah excuse you." He said, "Oh, our brother." So in other words, of course, perhaps it would have been better for them perhaps not to have said such a thing, but they said that concerning Abu Sufyan, and showing their position. Nabi is also showing their position, even though they, who they were in terms of their position in their tribes, or in the tribal, context. But in the context of Islam, they were a very high esteem, right? So, from that we understand also not simply, making them angry, but making any Muslim angry unnecessarily. If one does so, then one should be fearful that he has made actually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala angry. So if we have said something to one of our brothers and they become angry, then we should, and we realize that, we should very quickly hasten, like Abu Bakr did, to seek excuse. Perhaps I made you angry, I'm very sorry about that, excuse me. And then of course the person who was angry should leave his anger and say, yes, okay, I forgive you for the sake of Allah. So this is the beautiful, this is the beautiful relationship. We are human, we get angry with one another from time to time, but we should be, as fast as we get angry, we should be faster in seeking forgiveness and pardon for our slip-ups and for our mistakes. Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all tawfiq. Wa akhir da'wan.